But it seems like every time I get up here and preach, I'm always after the hard stuff. How do I beat this, right? Or how do I even compete? It's odd. All right, so good morning and happy Sabbath. And wow, that was amazing. You guys did an awesome job. The kids seemed like they were excited. They were up here doing their songs. It was awesome. Esther, can I ask for your favor? She's going to give Miss Dottie a present from me, saying thank you very much for going above and beyond and just being the great person. You may have to give it to Bob. I don't see Dottie in here. Thank you very much. And it was nice having the PowerPoint, so thank you guys for putting that together. It let us live what you guys did. It gets me all excited that Robin and I are probably going to do a little bit more next year than we did this year, so thank you, thank you. So I have some questions for the kids. Were you here in the church? Yeah. You were in church? Okay. Was it fun? Yeah. Okay. Is VBS different than church? Yeah. Do you have fun at church? Yeah. Okay. Do you have fun when you're in here in the sermon? No. Okay. So it is a little bit different, right? You hear a lot of shh, keep it down, right? Let's be quiet. But then you think to yourself, I am being quiet. Are they talking to me? Because that's my inside voice, right? So sometimes it's a little confusing. There are so many different rules, so many different people telling us what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to do it, and what is right and what is wrong, correct? So I'm going to tell you guys some stories today. Some things about when I was little, some things from here in the church, and I'm hoping that you will understand why there are the rules and what they are. But if you promise, and I'm going to pick on Vivian this time, if you don't tell anybody, don't tell the grown-ups, it's so they can learn something as well, okay? So I can remember when I was little that there was always, and so when I refer to, so the older people are going to learn something today. So every time I refer to the older people, do any of us older people want to say we're older? Raise your hand if you want to be older. That's cool. You want to be called older? I'm going to call you the others because I don't want to get in trouble. So whenever I talk about the others, we're talking about anybody older than your mom and dad, okay? We don't tell anybody what mom is. Happy birthday. So anytime you hear me say the others, I mean anyone older than your parents, the old people, okay? Grandparents. I had that on here, but I didn't want to offend anybody that wasn't a grandparent, or think we weren't talking about them. There you go. So when I was a kid, I would hear people say that children were supposed to be heard and not seen. Anybody else hear that? Seen, not heard? Okay. Thank you for listening. That's awesome. And when I would go to church, there was always some other people that would say, don't run. In my family, there's 5 of us, and there was always somebody doing something they weren't supposed to be and somebody always running. And so we would run here and there. But see, what we don't understand, and I'm sure you guys don't understand, is if you don't want us to run, then why do you make this racetrack out here for us to be able to run in, right? All right. So, and all we're waiting for, as Tara always knows, is that little number they put on front of you. I was going to bring mine from the 5K that I tried to crawl the other day. That's all the kids need is your permission to run because we've made the race. And was there any harm in the kids running in the church? Well, we are in God's house and we are supposed to walk softly. So one of the things that were different between now and when I was a little kid is that in my church in Westminster, my parents believed that it took a village. So every parent was the parent of the children in the church. So if I did something wrong, any of my 10 moms, because every mom in that church thought they were my mom, would say, and sometimes in stereo, Lisa, and does your mother know what you're doing? I'd be like, I'm hoping not. I'm trying to behave or go behind so she doesn't see me, but you just said my name loud enough. She knows. Or Rose McNeve would say, Ben, Ben Meyer, do you know where your daughter is? By this time, I already knew my father was behind me, and I better straighten up and do what I was supposed to be doing. Or that look where your mom could see you from across the room. That look that could kill, right? Anybody ever had that thing? Okay, absolutely. I'm pretty sure that every kid, when my mom turned their head, my mom was the most pleasant woman in the world. She would give the shirt off your back. She was just amazing. But when we did something that would embarrass the family, there was the look. And every kid knew not to get in that look, between my mom and I, because we would die, they would die, because it was going to kill you. All right. But I loved going to church. I loved learning about Jesus. I loved singing the songs, and I hope all of you guys love that as well. When you would get to church on time, Miss Virginia would give you the biggest hug and say that she was so glad you were there, and you would get a special sticker. So when you went there was a thing on the wall that had a little scene on it, and let's say it was a tree. If you came every Sabbath on time, you got 13 stickers, 13 little leaves, and when you were done, you had this little plaque that it let everybody know, look, I was here every week, I was on time. So that was something that encouraged us. We would tell my dad, come on, let's go. And then if you helped after class, you know what happened? Miss Marsh would take time to come up to you in that class. She didn't teach, she didn't have to do it. And she'd come in and say, Lisa, it was so nice of you to help your teacher today. I'd be like, oh, great, thank you. And Miss Rose, it didn't matter. She was Carl and Betty's mom. She believed she adopted every child in that church. They were part of her family. So that meant that you might get something special on your birthday, but you also must get a fluck in your ear if you did something wrong. She'd also pull you away and say, hey, you're going to have to stand in that corner if you did something wrong. She was your mom, no matter if she gave birth to you or not. So there are rules in our church, and our rules change just a little bit. I'm sure when Jen was little, your mom wouldn't have been sitting on the floor up front with you. But how great is it seeing you there with your babies, right? Yeah, it's changing. It is changing. So, thank you. Sorry. If you were really good, really good, every once in a while you would be able to sit with another family. But it had to be the other family and their mom and dad. You weren't allowed every week. It was maybe once every quarter, you would be able to sit with your best friend if you were good. And it would be my dad, my mom, my sister Debbie, Steve, and then so on, all the way down to me. This was not the most important role in the church, but it is etched into my brain at the present moment, because the summer I learned how to crack gum and pop it was the rule that came out. When in our church, when you came through those doors, you could stand outside that door, and me and Natalie Apple would stand out there, and we'd talk and talk and talk. And when you got ready to open up the doors, because I talk a lot, and right before you went out, we'd just get it all out. So there was no more. And then you could step in, shut the door behind you, go sit down with your parents, and that was how church started. The problem is, on this particular Sabbath, Natalie Apple reached into her little purse and gave me a piece of gum. Piece of juicy fruit gum. What did I do? I put it in my mouth. I started chewing. I was excited. That's the best gum when I was a kid. I loved it. Now it's kind of nasty. And I put it in my mouth, got near my dad. I stopped breathing, because you can't go by your dad and him not know you don't have that smell in your face. So I snuck by. I made sure he was behind me. I go all the way down and I sit down. At this point, I'm little, so I get to hide behind everybody, and I'm just chewing. My gum. I tried to do this morning so I could make that pop, because I do it really well still, but it would have taken too long, so I apologize. So I'm sitting there, and my Uncle Johnny's preaching on this particular Sabbath. So I am chewing, and he sees me from afar, and he looks at me, and he goes. So my dad leans forward, and he looks down. Everybody looks all right in his row. And I make the biggest crack pop from my gum. And I was so proud, because my mom was the queen of popping gum. My father looks at my mom like, was it you? And my mom's just being real reverent and looking at the pastor, my uncle preaching. And I am just snuggled up behind my brother Mike so nobody can see me, and I'm still chewing. Finally, I let out a huge pop. Without a beat, missing a beat, my uncle leaves the pulpit, walks down the row, goes over, goes to my dad, looks at my dad, steps in front of him, and leans forward. So I pop out my gum. Sorry, Vivian. Pop out my gum. That was rule number 1. Never do we have gum in church. As an adult, the only way that I will have gum in my mouth is when I'm really nervous. Every time I'm up here, I get bad breath because I get nervous. I will probably have a piece of gum, so don't get near me until then. In this church, that is important. I know one important rule in this church, and the reason why I know it's important is before you walk through those 2 doors, there's a sign. Does anybody know what the sign says? No food in the sanctuary. But you know what? In our church, our parents give nibblies because there is such a long time between breakfast and lunch. The kids get a little nervous and get a little hungry, and they give them a little bit to eat. Now, the others, us old people, weren't allowed to do that in our time. So I'm asking you, as the kids in our church, to be mindful. When you get, and your mom and dad let you have a couple little snacks, be careful how you eat them and make sure you pick up around them so that the others can deal with the changes in our church. That's us, guys, the old people, very older than their moms and dads. Another one was to be quiet, listen, and be reverent. Jesus went to a quiet place, in a desolate place, and prayed to his God. So in our church, I had to go in, sit down. You had to go to the bathroom and drink your water before you came through those 2 doors. Why? My dad was not letting you out of that row. He was just not going to do it. So you had to make sure that you had all your business taken care of. Today, we have liberties. We have beautiful little children that are here with their parent, which is lovely. So I asked, so things are changing. The kids have quiet activity bags, and they're allowed to move around. Please remember that we are older. So I'm older. If you didn't know that, I'm an older person. And did you ever watch the movie Up? All right. In Up, when the dog is trying to be all nice and powerful and all, what does he do? At some point, the squirrel goes, and he's like, okay, guys, we're going to do some squirrel. That's us. When you get up and you move around, we lose all train of thought of the sermon up in front. And if you remember to help us so we can hear our sermon is lovely. Plus, a lot of us are deaf, and we can't hear. We need hearing aids, and we don't go get them. They told me this week I need hearing aids. I'm not getting them. So if you guys can work with us and we work together, the changes will happen. They're happening. We just need to work together to make sure that it works well. But this works both ways. Sometimes the adults get loud in here to the point when we're having announcements, no one can hear. And so as adults, we should walk out of the foyer and have our conversations out there. The title of our sermon is called Time Out. And I'm not trying to put anybody in their time out, but I am saying working together, everything is possible. Just as it got crazy in Jesus' time in his church, do you know what he did in Matthew 21? He flipped tables. Jesus made a noise in the church to make it right. So let's remember whose house we are in. It is not our house. It is not the conference's house. This is God's house. And we need to be reverent when we're here. Mark 10:14, which is, probably do this backwards, is that let the children come to me. Do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these. Know that they are our future, guys. One day they will be teaching and preaching from this point. I was in Westminster Church as a child, and now I'm here because you guys accepted me. There was issues there, and I left. So remember, our children are our future. Be mindful. Most people say that children are a distraction from more important work, but children are the most important work. Psalms 127:3 says, the offspring are the rewards from him. This one's a little weird and a little touchy, and it's not a really big deal, but our dress code. Sometimes in this church, our dress code has people walk out that door. And that's crazy, right? So one of the stories is it's a young elder, and he is going to a Bible study every Wednesday night. After the Bible study, he goes down the street to a pizza place. When he gets to the pizza place, there's this young guy, and you can tell life has not been really kind to him or very easy just by the way his face is and the way he is dressed. He wears the same uniform every Wednesday. It's got the same grease stain on it. He's caked with pizza flour. And this guy, every time he comes in, he says, "Hey, how are you doing? You know, I really think you're a great guy. You know, maybe he invites him to church with him." And the guy's like, "No." And every week he offers him again and again to come. He goes, "I just want to be your friend. Please come." So the guy says, "Okay, I'll go with you this week." So he goes. The young elder says, "I can't do my chores this week because I've got to welcome this man when he comes." So he stands and he waits and he waits. And when the church is almost 10 minutes to start for the sermon, the guy's still not there. 5 minutes, the guy's not there. When the church, he can hear the pastor inside preaching, the guy's still not there. 20 minutes, he goes and sits down. He's like, "Well, I guess he's not coming." After the service, he goes to the pizza place. "I really missed you being there today." And he says, "So maybe we can make a date for another time." And the guy goes, "I was there." He says, "When I got there was a well-dressed man at the door in a suit. And he said, 'You know, we wear God's best in this house.'" And the guy said, "I have to work after this." And the guy said, "We wear God's best in our house." And so he left. So he tells the young elder, and the young elder keeps his comments to himself, and he tells him, "No, maybe we can try something." But as soon as he gets into his car, he cries. And he says that when I can make those decisions, my dress code in this church will be just wear something. I believe that. I agree with that. That when you come into Gettysburg Seventh-day Adventist Church, it doesn't matter what you wear when you come through that door. It doesn't matter what fears you have. As long as you want to know about Jesus and his love and want to know him deeply, you come through that door. Every one of us should give them huge hugs and love and let them know that this is their church as well. They're not a visitor. As soon as you walk through that door, you are my brother, you are my sister. 6 is study. Thousands of people would flock to follow Jesus and to listen to his words. There was no air conditioner, there was no heat or seats and no microphones, but they listened in awe. Would we do that? If there was not a microphone today, would we still be sitting in here? If there was no air conditioner, would we have been fussing and complaining? I melted this week. I was hoping I was going to melt. If I had to be in all that sweat and funk with the heat, at least let me lose a couple pounds or something. But I complained. Would we do that if Jesus was here preaching today? So my advice to the others, to me, my age group, is remember, this is not our mother's world anymore. That there is a new generation in our church, so please be patient and guide them. That's the key. You can bark at them and push them out the door, or you can be patient and guide them. And remember, my mom always said, "Benny, you catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar." And then my advice to you, the moms and the dads and the children in this room, is remember that this was our world. Our generation made the foundation that you build the future on. So please be patient with us. Please be understanding. And one last thing, and this is a little bit more oomph in it, but somebody, each person in this room, has to rise up and say, "Not today, Satan. Not on my watch. I am not going to lay down and let you run roughshod over my family, over my church, my peace of mind. We are at war. This guy, this enemy, has a strategy. He is after everyone in this church. If your marriage is shaking, you got to be that warrior. You got to pray for it. You got to be that person that beats on that with a prayer. If you are a grandparent, pray for your grandkids. Again, you are at war. If you don't have grandparents, so if you're a mom and dad, Barry, you don't have your mom or dad, right? We need to be, as grandparents, praying for his children. He doesn't have that power. He doesn't have that armor for him. We are that armor. If our church is falling apart and it is hurting, we hit our knees and we pray for this church. The enemy wants us to be lazy. They want us to, because he wants to take advantage of us. He wants to be scheming. He wants to wiggle that carrot in front of you, your temptation, your problem. He wants you to say, you know, that one person that just gets under my skin, I can't stand them anymore. I'm stopping. I'm not doing anything anymore. Or that one thing, like, oh my, if they do that one more time, I'm walking out that door and I'm never coming back in this church again. He wants us to do that. He wants to win. So I'm asking, we know your plates are full. We know that you are overwhelmed. We know you are tired, but so does the enemy. He wants you to give up and he wants you to quit. So don't let him win. We want our family to matter. This room matters. These people in this room matter. Jan was out of electricity and she felt the love from this room. When mine was out, I felt the love from this room. You guys stood up and made a difference. Your phone calls were wonderful. We want you to be kind and loving and to let us work together, to be patient. Know that this is a different world and things are happening. This is a different church. Don't give up on us. And you and I together can do anything. So things are changing. Amen. So our last song is